Well, I am super excited to be introducing one of my dear friends, Nicole Henry. I will say, and actually I was putting this out to all the program participants, that you have helped me create at least $400,000 in money, just like it feels like it drops out of the sky into my hand. I've shown you my $98,000 check. And if I count this sale of this house of like getting my money mindset right, it's probably double that now. So I'm forever grateful to you to, showing me how to kind of open that channel and get my mindset right in terms of how I was sabotaging myself in terms of my business goals and other things that I was doing to create money for our family. And we have a new level of freedom that I'm forever grateful for. Oh my goodness, if we even counted the farm and all the things that are part of the story that I wrote in your class, then I just have to keep putting it up there. Maybe I'll be one of your $1 million earners pretty soon. So Nicole Henry is an amazing neurolinguistic practitioner. She also understands the psychology of what helps business owners activate their own intuition to find the strategies in their business that their brain understands. She's a master at all of these things, has so many different certifications. I can't list it all here, but it helps her make her master with logical business strategy while helping her clients tap into energy of manifestation and highest levels of possibility. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. I didn't realize how shiny my earrings are. So, squirrel, I'll hold it here. First off, one of the biggest things, and I say this, often with you, is that when I first met you, this is how I describe you. When I first met you, I was completely overwhelmed, and I was doing like a quarter of what I am doing now and feeling so much more balanced. So I think one of the most powerful things that you taught me was really how we cycle. And if we can catch our cycles, then we can kind of interrupt that feeling of overwhelmed and actually get more done. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So a big thing, well, by the way, hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be here, and it's great to see some familiar faces too. But the biggest thing for me is I believe life, like we're a human, right? Like we're a spiritual being living this human experience. And it's really hard to understand how do we really tap into that intuition and start making more intuitive decisions, while we also have past stories, past fears, past traumas. If you've ever maybe filed bankruptcy, got divorced, became a single mom, whatever your story is, right? And so our brain is here to keep us safe. And so it's kind of like PTSD, right? Like once your brain goes to that loop, it can go there over and over and over. And so with money, a lot of us have money loops, money cycles in life, in our relationships. We have cycles, right, in business. And so my whole mission since I really started getting into this is how do I understand my cycles to a T to know what is intuition and what is a cycle, what is sabotage and what is overwhelm. And what that is for me is going to be different than what that is for you. And so my goal when it comes to cycles is understanding that you have a goal, right? It's like when you make a goal to go to the gym and you're like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm motivated. It's the beginning of the year. And then maybe you start to get sore and you're like, I'm going to skip a day. I'm not going to go. And so then you start to fall into this cycle. And then you're like, well, crap, now I wasted my time. So why go back? And now you follow down here. And now you have the guilt and the weight of the world on your shoulders. And you're like, well, now I'm a failure. I didn't follow through once again, right? And then we sit here in this victimhood for a while. And then we start to like climb back out, see light, and we're like, okay, I'm going to maybe start over and try again. And now we're back to square one. I want to lose 15 pounds again, or I want to make this much money again. And so the goal is how do we catch this cycle right at the beginning? How do you start to see things? For me, I had to really understand that fear and anxiety are what run me. But when fear and anxiety show up, I know it's a cycle. So that's when I'm like, nope, just keep pushing, just keep pushing, just keep pushing, right? Now, when overwhelm shows up, that's when I know I need to delegate. It's not a cycle. It's my body telling me something. And so my goal is to help all of you start to think about what is the common emotion that shows up over and over and over when you start going after something hard. And when that shows up, instead of taking your brain through that loop of giving up or taking a break, or it's a sign I should quit, ask yourself, what's a different thought I could put in place there? And what's a different action I could take to just start retraining that neurological pathway? Sorry, it was a little bit of a longer answer.
I love
but,
that.
But it really is so important to understand why the cycles happen and what emotions are happening in each aspect.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love that you also mentioned the overwhelm, where it is like your body saying, okay, enough here, I'm being beat up. And so how would you differentiate the feelings of overwhelm and I want to quit? Because they kind of are similar, right? Where you get that, like, I want to quit.
Yeah. So for me, obviously it's going to be different for everyone, but for me, the overwhelm, you'll start to learn your language in different things. So when I have fear and anxiety, I'm never like, oh, I want to quit. For me, I'm like, I really want it, but I'm so afraid of, or what if I lose it all? Or that's where I play the what if game, right?
Mhm.
But when I'm overwhelmed, I typically am like, it would just be easier to be a stay-at-home mom. It would just be easier to just be a wife. It would just, and that's my thoughts and my language, right? And so some of you may relate to that, but you have to, because some people that have fear and anxiety, they might be like, oh, it's too much for me. I want to quit, right? So that's why it's just starting to track your thoughts and the languages that show up. But if you do fall into a cycle and then you end up wanting to go after that same goal, it was a cycle. So start to just watch your patterns in the language that you say regularly. If it is, I want to quit. If I've also really learned that I've chose to, instead of being anxious or fearful, I'm excited, right? Because nervous and fear and anxiety is the same feeling as excitement. And so start just shifting and training your brain that I'm not anxious, or it's not that I want to quit. I just need to delegate, right? I just need to delegate because I'm probably taking on too much. Because what happens is when we start to go after this new life, it gets heavy and we keep adding and adding and adding. And the first thing we want to do is we think this is the issue up here, when really you just haven't eliminated anything out here, because you're not Superwoman. You cannot do it all, right? So you have to start to think about, what can I eliminate here, not eliminate the thing that I got downloaded to really start to move towards.
I love that image too, where you're like, that's gold right there, quite honestly, where if you get kind of like up against this wall and you turn around, or we've talked a little bit about stair stepping, right? Where you hit this low and then you come back to that same goal, or you turn around and you want to climb that mountain to the next level, then you know that that's an ultimate calling, versus like if you let it go and it just really wasn't a fit, it never comes up again. That's like amazing. That helps me at
right?
Because sometimes I'm like push, and then really it wasn't in alignment.
Yeah, and we can get in that chasing cycle too, which can be a pro too. We have to really learn to have such a clear mind and eliminate all of the thoughts, because I do think sometimes we go down a path and then we're like I share this story a lot where, I thought I wanted to speak on all these famous stages. I was hanging out with Real Housewives and Les Brown and all of these things. I was flying everywhere. And I thought that's what I had to do. And it's what I wanted for so long. And then I experienced it. And I was like missing soccer games. I almost missed the death of my dog, like my childhood dog, like over these things that weren't actually getting me. I thought I needed them, right? And it sounded cool at the time. Did it, tried it, not for me. I want to be a mom. I want to show up for everything, right? And so being okay to be like, trust that intuition again, that I learned a lot and it's where I needed to be then. And I gained a lot of connections, but it's okay to turn around too. It doesn't mean that's a cycle, right? But it all really comes down to, can you hear your intuition or not?
Yeah, I love that. What would you say, so on that tangent, what would you say is the best way to tap into that and to ask yourself some questions around what your language is, cycle, that sort of thing?
Kind of reword the question a little bit. I think I know what you're asking, but
Yeah. So how would you suggest for people to really kind of track their language,
Mhm.
tap into that intuition to know if it's a cycle or if it's really truly something that's just, they're being protected from, I guess.
I love it. So you have to really, number one, you have to know what your higher power voice is, right? Like whether it's God, whether it's a mountain, whether it's whatever you believe, right? You have to know, can I determine the difference between what my truth is and what is not truth, right? That's step one. Step two comes down to track everything. I remember when I first learned how to black journal, I'd look at my vision board and I'd have all these thoughts. You can't do that. That's never possible. Oh, too much work, this or that. And so my black journal actually saved me a lot because I just would start writing down all of my negative thoughts. Our mind isn't very creative in creating new problems. We typically create the same language, the same relationship problems, the same money problems. And so it doesn't take very long to start to realize what the lies are, right? And then when you start to look at, okay, how do I really know what is my intuition saying? Once again, like writing things down for me, it started with me of writing down my intuitive action steps. Like, what is my intuitive action step for today? Maybe it's go to the dog park, right? And then after that, I would write what happened that day. Maybe I met a great new friend that, oh my gosh, it turned out like when I went to the salad in a jar party and look how many new friends I made. And we've been friends for how long? Like an intuitive decision of moving to Vegas, knowing nobody and having no plan, then going to a stranger's house in Vegas was terrifying, right?
Made you make salads.
Yes. And I could have got food poisoned, right? But like I trusted my intuition and I started to be like, look at what that created for me. And so then you start to like really track what were those voices that led to something and what were those voices that didn't.
I love that. And I think that's one of the things we've talked a little bit in the past about different brains. And one of my favorites, and most moms are, is that squirrel brain or spaghetti brain. And that helps ground that. That helps kind of like, oh wait, here, take it back a notch. What am I doing here? And so maybe you can explain black journaling to people.
Yeah. So black journaling for me is just brain dumping, right? And a lot of people won't do it because they're so in the law of attraction world, which I am too, but they're so afraid to write anything down that it may become truth. And so it's all about intention. You're already thinking negative thoughts. You've either just told yourself like, got to be positive, right? But at the end of the day, we all have stress. We all have issues. We all have problems. And so it's with the intention that I'm getting this out to rip it up, throw it away, burn it, whatever it is, but let it out so that now your mind is clear. Start filling it in with more of what you want, because what you think about, you bring about. And so it's like, what do I want to create? And then watch that filter that says, oh, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. Once again, get that out, like really get that out. And it isn't that this is all magic. It's a mind training tool that's literally just taking your brain a different path to create a new way of thinking that maybe you're not used to, right? A lot of us grew up in negative households or poor money mindset or not, with the wealthiest family or whatever, maybe divorced parents. And so we look at things and we start to settle in our life, or we start to make decisions because it's the norm. Start really asking yourself, why do I think this way? Why do I do this? Why do I coupon shop? Why do I buy my kids this amount of clothes for school, right? Just start really questioning the why in your life and ask yourself if it's yours. If it's not, really black journal about, is it a fear-based decision? So for me, I dislike money because I am frustrated with my spouse because, and I just start filling up that paper with negative thoughts because they're in there. And as much as we want to pretend they're not, they are, with the intention to just let them out because they're not ours. They're lies.
And then I found that like just ripping it up is so symbolic for my subconscious to be like, that's done. And if it sneaks back in, it goes back on the paper and gets ripped up again.
Yeah, because like I said, our mind is not very creative. A lot of times it's I'm not good enough. I'm comparing myself to someone. I should be better. A lot of it is that self-worth, right? And that's the easiest way for energy to start to attack us.
Yeah. And I love that you bring up just kind of our patterns and of our past as well, because when you think about money mindset, often we've heard the same thing from our parents over and over and over again. No, that costs too much. Or gosh, I came up against like one of the classics and I thought, well, I thought that was an old idea that's dead. But what was it? Something like, a big house would be too expensive to clean, or, those things that are just money's not grown on trees. There are all of those words that we've probably heard as kids 10,000 times. Now, I will say I'm a little bit of a different animal to that, because one side of my family was very wealthy and had the whole entrepreneurial, like from day one in ancestry. And so it really wasn't in that side of the family's language. So I got to see that and what that created. And also just know that when I was with them, there was none of that language. It was really interesting. And then another side that had all that language. So it was, there's two sides to my brain sometimes when that comes up, right? So think about those things that you've heard so many times.
Well, and then add that to then being married, right? And now you bring somebody else's mindset to the table.
Absolutely.
And then the stories of, but you should listen to your husband, or he's a provider, or this or that, right? And now you're like, but wait, my gut is saying this, right? And so there's so many elements, society, past behaviors, that's why it's like, we are the leader in our life. Nobody has done our life for us. And it may look different. People may be like, Nicole, why do you get nails? That's materialistic. Nails feed my energy, right? Like it's like only I know what's going to feed me. Maybe some people like a big house. I'm fine with a little farmhouse, right? Like, so it's like, there's no right or wrong. We just have to know what sets our energy up for success for us to feel good.
Yeah, definitely. And then not to defend that either, but I love that you brought that up about husbands, because you met us at a time where we had very different ideas about what life should look like, and you helped us create space for that. And honestly, that I would love for you to talk really quick. We have about 9 more minutes on the levels of hold the line, because I had this vision up here and it was big and scary to him, and he kept kind of trying to drag the vision down or like make it smaller or what have you. And now honestly he trades in places, so it's pretty fun.
I love it. And it takes years, right? That's where a lot of women don't hold the line, is because it does take time. And we think, well, when my husband's on board, then I can do this. When I convince him, then I can do this. When in reality, me and you have both proven that it may take a year or two of holding that line, but they're still making little steps before then they're surpassing us. Men make huge jumps, but I swear it's like every 4 years. Like, women make like smaller jumps, but it's consistent. So they're always a little bit of ahead until that big jump happens. And so really understanding that when you hold the line, you're at a certain vibration, right? And as you start to learn and vibrate up with your like feminine energy, right, which is mostly intuition, men have to see the logic and the GPS before they will move. And so what happens is they can feel the energy is off because you're no longer in sync. And so they start to go chaotic. Your kids go chaotic. You don't love me. You don't like me. You're working too much, blah, 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 all of these things, right? Like my husband never had a jealous bone until I started like up here. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I just feel like you're like looking at this guy or doing this or blah, blah. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Right. And so it starts to bring you down because you're like, that's not who I am, because they're questioning your integrity. So the goal is to like make it short is, how do I hold the line to still be able to love and support them? But we're not asking for permission. We're asking for support and what we will engage with and what we won't. I am sorry you feel that way. That's not my intention. Here's my solutions on how we can fix this. But I am still going to go after this goal, right? Maybe you don't want to fund the bill. I will find a way to fund the bill, right? Maybe you, and we become independently united. You're not placing any expectation on him or her, whoever watches this, right? And I don't, and he doesn't place any expectation on me. And if he does, it's my job to hold the line of, I know my integrity, I know my intention, and I know that it's pure. And I see this for what it is, not for what he's saying. And I think that we take a lot of that fear on, or we want them to be our biggest supporters. My husband to this day still doesn't fully understand what I do, like ever, like still fully. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually I love that you say that. And I have 5 minutes to address this topic, because I feel like, honestly, if husbands and wives understood what each other did, then we would be way more supportive of one another. But it
Yep.
is so easy to play that comparison game and go, I did way more than he did today, and vice versa, right?
Yep.
So being comfortable with saying and trusting that they're holding up their ends of the bargains and the partnership, and that you are as well. And if that comes into question, then that probably is when you need to reconnect.
Yeah, and know that your pathways are completely different. For example, my husband just bought another semi trailer, right? And I'm like, I would have probably done this different or this different, but it's his intuition. I can't tell him how to run his pathway. Just like he doesn't understand why I hire coaches. Like, why do you need someone to tell you what to do or hold you accountable? And I'm like, because I won't do it if I don't pay money for it, right? And we don't judge each other for that anymore. And before it would be like, well, you should just be able to do it. You should just be able to, and so it's also honoring each other's pathways, because you ultimately want the best for each other. You just have to recognize what is fear and defensiveness and what is truth and truly a concern that just needs talked about.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, just those statements, right? So watch your language with your spouse. And it's so funny because here I am looking out at my spouse, and I know the statement he says to me all the time, which is a judgment, and something that when I hear him say that, I'm like, I'll be introspective and see, is there something I'm missing? Because it comes from love, but he says, honey, you're outrunning your headlights again. So I'm like, am I not seeing around corners or whatever? I'll take a look at it for a second. Most of the time it's just because I've got a pretty strong intuition and I'm just driving forward, and that I trust everything else will fall into place.
It's a chaotic mess.
He can't possibly understand how I could just like, whoop, there we go. But he's very methodical and more planned out and more structured.
Well, and that's what the woman energy is. Woman energy is very spiral, very chaotic. Think about it in birth and everything. It's a big chaotic storm and a lot of pain and a lot of everything before like the birth and the conception actually happens. And men don't work that way. So in ancient times, when there was a war, women would come together and pray and meditate and do all these things and shift up the energy, right? And get these downloads that made absolutely no sense. And the men would then go follow the plan and create the plan for war based off of the downloads that the women got. And I think as we'll probably never fully be there to that extent because we have too many social things. But that's the end goal, is how can women really use their feminine gifts, and how as women can we trust men, right? And it really comes down to trusting each other's natural gifts. It's like the mother intuition. How do you know when your kid's sick, when they're like, they're fine, they're fine, they're fine? You're like, no, I just know something's wrong. It's like, it doesn't make sense. You just know, right?
Yeah, definitely. I love that so much. I think we will, with that, wrap it up a little bit, unless you have one other comment or something you want to say to kind of tie it all together.
No, I'm good. This has been super fun and I've got a lot of good ahas and content out of this. So
me too. That's like so many golden nuggets every time I talk to you. So we will wrap up. Thank you, Nicole, so much for being with us, and we will put your website and all the ways that you can work with Nicole. You've got I will just say, first of all, you have some incredibly high value classes that you do in the group setting that make it more approachable for people to work with you. Of course, you do your one-on-ones, and you have kind of probably a waiting list by now for your one-on-ones if I know you. But those amazing Finance Your Destiny classes are truly life-changing. So
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for more people to learn about you. All
Yay.
right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you guys.